Kayla.
Hello.
How are we doing today?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day.
It
I'm
is.
breathing. I'm grateful.
Oh, yes.
Gratitude. Yes.
Best combination, right?
Right. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for being on this episode with us today.
Of
Um,
course. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
yeah, you're awesome. For a little context, everyone listening, we met on set. I was styling Kayla for a pajama wear brand. Luxury loungewear, excuse me. That's the real proper term for that. Endearments. So shout out to Endearments Loungewear.
Yes.
And yes, Kayla was just such a light. I just had to bring her onto the show.
You're such a light. Thank
Oh,
you.
of course, of course. So I definitely want everyone to learn about your journey becoming a model and becoming signed. And we're going to talk about your just wildflower overall. I feel like is it your company? Can you talk about a little bit what you do, what wildflower is, and what that name means?
Yes. So I guess a few years back, I felt like I needed something like a change, and that came in the form of something as small as changing my Instagram handle. But wildflower within itself, I've always just loved flowers. I love how they just kind of grow and do their own thing. More specifically, sunflowers. I love the sun. Anything with the sun, count me in. um, but just everything that it means to me, and I feel like I relate to wildflower because I have so many ideas and things that I want to do in my head, and it's like I know I can do them all. So it's just me basically going after what I want, but like building my confidence and just being a flower out here, but doing it in my own terms.
Yeah.
Hence, wild. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Aha.
Awesome.
But
I like
then,
that.
so it started as that, and then it just kind of took off, and I started shooting and on sets. Different people would call me Wildflower, and I'm like, oh, like my name's Kayla, but okay, cool. So I started becoming associated with Wildflower. And it wasn't until earlier this year that I actually took the step to make it an LLC and brand it that way. So I'm taking it, I'm running with it, more to come. I'm excited.
Awesome. I love the name. I love that it's spelled with a Y.
Thank you.
Yeah, it adds a little uniqueness to it. I just imagine like little Y being a little flower in the middle of the wildflower.
Okay, come through logo. I'll take some logo ideas.
I got you, girl. I got you. Take it and run with it,
Thank
girl.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I want to get down to how you got your start. Not even actually before we get into how you got your start as a model. Early in childhood, was this something that you always wanted to do, or was there a certain spark, like a moment in time that was like, oh, this is it, as a child?
So I have wanted to model or pursue some type of career in entertainment since I was little. And when I was younger, it wasn't so much a focus in modeling. It was just I was so fascinated with television and like different shows and movies. And it's like, oh, this is cool. Like, I want to do that. But also how you can use an art form and inspire others. So that was one of the main things that I took away from it. I always communicated to my mom, like, I want to do this, I want to do this. And she was an awesome mom, love her. She'd be like, okay, you want to do this? Let's try it out, whether it was piano or anything, just to get a feel of what I wanted to do.
Right.
So she would always take me to auditions and like agency meetings, things of that nature. And when we were younger, at least 5 or 6.
Oh wow, so you're really young, like kindergarten.
Yeah, I was little.
Oh wow, okay.
And I feel like maybe from her perspective, it was like, okay, maybe this is just like a right now thing. But I'm still so happy that she's so supportive in everything that I do. So even with the agencies, we'll go to different ones and be like, okay, well, not right now. Or we'd get a call back, I guess, audition, my brother and I. And for whatever reason, it wouldn't work out. It's neither here nor there. continue to get older. I mean, we all age, and it's just always something where I was like, oh man, I really want to do this. I really want to do this. Fast forward, we moved to Georgia. I'm from New York. We moved to Georgia. I still had the interest. However, that's when we discovered that they were modeling schools. So it's like, okay, let me try this.
Mm-hmm.
My experience, I'm grateful for the experience.
Okay.
I will say that.
Okay.
Through the school or the program that I went through, I feel like it helped me learn the power of networking, but not only like building those relationships, but also maintaining them. Because when I did start working, I guess doing more fashion shows and things of that nature, I actually learned about them or was referred to them through my instructors at the school and not so much the agency side of the school. Mm-hmm. So it was like, okay, learning lessons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And around this time, I feel like I was maybe 15, 16. And at the time, I was so focused on fashion shows and runway. I was like, oh, yes, let me create this big wind in my hair. And I get to wear cool outfits. And it was fun. It was like an adrenaline rush when you're up next to go on the runway. And it's like, okay, like I got to focus on my walk, but not focus on my walk because I just want to go for it. Fast forward to, I guess, college age. I didn't have a car. In Georgia, I feel like you need a car to do everything. So I was like, okay, let me just focus on school right now. Maybe my path is a little different. Needless to say, I'm back modeling. But anyway, yeah, so after I took my break, when I came back, my focus was more on print. More so because I kept hearing, okay, well, you're not tall enough to do the type of runway shows that you want to do. You're not this, you're not that enough. Comments coming from everywhere. After a while, I feel like that kind of breaks you down.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you can either let it keep you down or you can, overcome and like prove people wrong. And just, I feel like if you continue to follow your passions, then you can't really go wrong anyway.
I believe
I'm such a long story. I'm sorry to shorten it.
Please, okay. No. Tell us all the things.
All the things. Okay. But yeah, so college. So I came back. I was focusing on print. I was reaching out to different photographers. Like, okay, like how do I break into this? I don't really know. There was a platform, Model Mayhem.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still.
I'm not sure if it's still around, but I do remember it for sure.
You remember it? Okay. So basically it's just a platform for different creatives to connect, whether it's photographers, makeup artists, models, different things of that nature. So I was reaching out to everybody on there. Anytime somebody like bit the hook, I'd reel them in like, okay, let's shoot. And from there, I actually gained my first publication as a model. It was bridal and it was for Weddings Unveiled. I wish I remembered the year and the issue, but from there I was like, I can do this, like, So just keeping that same energy, but definitely maintaining all of the relationships that I built, like I mentioned before. Yeah, it's very important. And just speaking with different photographers, maintaining my level of professionalism, because I always try to, bring my best self.
Of course, yeah.
And I feel like that's what you should do with anything. Anyway, fast forward again. COVID happened last year, which I needed. I felt like it was a blessing in disguise. It really helped me sit down and like refocus and get closer with God, because I feel like my relationship kind of like, I'm there, I'm not there, I'm there, I'm not there, which is a fault of my own. I feel like I get busy and, life and whatever, not an excuse. But with last year, I learned to pray, but pray intentionally. And just speaking with God is like, okay, like, show me what you have for me. Like, what do you want for my life? And every time I prayed that prayer, a booking would come or like just different signs. I'm like, okay, I hear you, God.
That's how it goes.
I hear you. And this was in the later part of 2020. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it 100% because even in my past years, I never really gave it 100%. I was like, yeah, I want to do this, but I didn't put the work behind it.
Yeah.
So end of 2020, I put in work, grinding, networking, reaching out to old connects, different things like that. I was like, I'm going to get signed within the first quarter of 2021, writing down all my goals. I'm really big at manifesting. And so I was shooting a lot more and trying to put myself out there. I felt like I went from waiting for opportunities to be handed to me instead of me like creating them for myself. So I was like, okay, with these agencies, usually there's a protocol that you follow. I found the one that I'm signed with currently is AI model management. I love that it's all inclusive, especially with me not being the industry standard height. But what I did with them, I was like, okay, I went on their website. I wanted to see what their submission protocol was like. I didn't see one, but I saw an email address. I was like, let me just shoot them an email. I know it's not standard, but whatever. Sent an email attached with a few photos and a link to my website, which I also use for my online portfolio. The director responded back. She was like, we actually weren't taking any more submissions, but she was like, but I love your work. Like, I'd love to work with you. And I was like, yes. Down the horns. Down the horns. But even that, because I've been working toward that, it was always a goal. It's like, oh, are you a model? Okay, well, are you signed? That's usually the follow-up question. Which I feel like people attribute you being signed to like your level of seriousness or how you're actually working. So when I got signed, I was like, oh, okay, I can like sit back. I don't have to go as hard for myself and like continue to get these bookings. Not the case.
So you still had to work toward it, like work for it even after the fact.
I
think that's a major misconception for people thinking like, okay, once I get signed, I can relax.
Yes, I do. And maybe that was just my thought, but it was just like, okay, I don't have to go hard for myself because they're going to go hard for me. So I guess just learning that, I kind of like sat back for a couple of weeks and I was like, no, like, what am I doing? I still have to.
You still got to grind the way you're grinding.
Right. Still have to grind. So just continuing to shoot and go for it. And I feel like I've been blessed with a lot of opportunities and a lot of different bookings. And a lot of my bookings are actually through referrals from other people that I've worked with or other photographers that I've worked with. More so, like I said, just being my authentic self and being professional, super nice to everybody. Try to uplift everybody wherever I can. So
you're doing a good job, boo. Like that's. I want to go back to really quickly to just talking about kind of the earlier parts and working your way to becoming more serious about modeling. I know for me, my first interest in fashion was designing because that sparked from me being so petite. So I'm 4'11" and I was constantly picked on for that. I still am, actually. Still get teased for that.
Well, you're fabulous. So.
Thank you, boo. Thank you. Let them know, Kayla. Just let them know. You know, just for the world to hear. Y'all heard that? Okay.
She's fabulous.
Thank you. And I feel like everyone needs to know that. So thank you for adding that in there. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
But I remember having this moment of realization, like, well, can I really, because I started to get interested in modeling for a minute because I was like addicted to America's Next Top Model in like 7th grade. I watched it. Yeah, you too? Okay, so I watched it, nonstop, and I would practice when I walk and things like that. But I was always scared to take it seriously because of my height. I was like, well, I didn't realize what print was. I didn't realize there's a difference between runway modeling and print. And so like print is different where you don't necessarily have to be the tallest. But styling was my thing that kind of took over. But for you, how did you find out that there was a route around, like you don't have to be, 5'10" or 5'9" as a woman to model? What was that I guess that progression like for you in figuring that out?
I feel like it's still an obstacle.
Okay.
Because even with print and with a lot of agencies, when you're submitting to their print division, I feel like there's still a height requirement that they look for. Some agencies have become more laxed about it, but for me, I just had to say, okay, I'm not for everybody. I know what I bring to the table, whether I'm 6 feet or 5'5.5", whatever. Like, I can still execute. Absolutely. You want this shot, I can give you this shot. So for me, it was learning to ignore the noise and the negativity and the you can'ts and this and the third, and say, no, like, I can do this. If you don't want me, cool. Somebody else will. I'm still going to do this. I'm still going to be here. Still going to continue to shoot.
So how tall are you?
I feel like I'm 5'5.5". But fun fact, so back when I was in like, I guess late high school, early college, I had gotten used to believing I was a certain height. Because I started to lie, which I don't condone. Lying is not good, but I started to lie on like these submissions because I'm like, I can't even get like a second look if I'm not this height. So for so long I was like, yeah, I'm like 5'6", 5'7", whatever. But I'm not. I'm like 5'5".
The fact that 5'5" is super short to the modeling industry is kind of crazy, because that is probably the more average height of most women.
For women, right?
So you would think in the fashion industry that would be the height that they ask for.
Right.
Do you feel like with modeling, have you ever struggled from a mental health perspective? Just like I know you mentioned it can take a toll on your confidence, but in my just talking with a lot of different models over the years, mental health is something that constantly comes up because of the fact that your image, your physical image is your money. That's how it's so harshly judged. It means so much. And I think a lot of times in the world, we want to spend a lot of our time trying not to focus on those things, but in modeling, it's where you have to put your focus. How do you balance that for yourself? What does that look like for yourself, maintaining your mental health?
So I feel like I struggled with my self-image even before going this modeling route. And I say that because I'm petite also. So, growing up, it's like, oh, you're so skinny, you need to eat more, you need to do this, you need that, not only from your friends, but from like their parents and like people where you're like, like, why are you bashing me right now?
Any bashing is a thing.
No control, right? I feel like I went through puberty late, so I would just always try to hide myself. I wore really big jackets. And it wasn't until, I guess, college where I was like, okay, like nobody's really making these comments. And if they are, they weren't saying them to me. But it was just like, I'm just going to continue to be myself. That's all I can do. So I feel like I had to go through that in middle school and high school to prepare me for the harsh realities of the modeling industry. So when I was hearing, you're not this, you're not that, it was like, okay, whatever.
Right.
Like, that's your opinion. That's your standard or idea of beauty. And then even listening to interviews of models that are industry's height standard, that are like your double zeros, whatever, they're always like, well, I feel like they still have, poor self-images, or even them working is still not good enough for the industry, because they're like, oh, my agent's like, well, I need to lose this and I need to lose that. And I'm like, what do you have to lose?
Right. There's
like,
nothing left to lose.
More can you? Right. Like, you'll disappear.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was more so me just having to build my confidence and love myself, like every aspect of me, unapologetically, to succeed, because I still get the "you're not tall enough for this" I get from family members sometimes. So
Yeah.
it's like, all right, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm not focusing on proving you wrong, but
I'm going to inevitably prove you wrong though, because
I'm going to inevitably.
I love that about you. Like, and watching you work, I mean, you're I hate to keep harping your height, but like I know the industry, because I know the industry does,
It's
but like
fine. Yeah.
even working with you though, like it's not like you really even really notice, in the sense that you know how to use your body properly. And yeah, you do a great job. I mean, you did an amazing job. You're really great at what you do. It's clear that you've done the work to prepare yourself to be on any set that you're on. You're great. Like, anybody would be crazy not to have you on set for something. Based on your height alone, they really would be missing out on a extremely strong model. So you should just know that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Like,
Yeah.
truly.
I mean it. And then also, you were mentioning earlier, how you work on set has a lot to do with getting rebooked for things, or being called back for future opportunities. And I mean, that's something that I like to tell people a lot of the time, especially when you're a freelancer in the fashion industry in particular. Like, how you work on set, no matter what position you're in, whether you're the photographer, the stylist, the makeup artist, the model, and you come there and you're smiling at everyone and you're, uplifting everyone, that's a breath of fresh air, especially from models. I would say you were a major breath of fresh air. Working with you was a breath of fresh air, truly. But yeah, and it's clear that you do a lot of work internally as a person, because you exude a very humble confidence. It's not like an overcompensating confidence. It's like it's pure, but also strong. And I think that's a character trait that it doesn't just appear. I think that's something you have to be intentional about having. And many people either don't know how to, or just don't take the time to really think that deeply about it and be intentional and all that stuff. But it goes a long way. I mean, that's how you can maintain a career in this crazy industry of ours. It's how you maintain it. Do you, with modeling, do you feel like it's something that has become more, I guess when we talk about the mental health part of it, is it something that's you're more accustomed to now? Like, you just kind of have a flow and you have a method of, working through anything that's kind of challenging for you?
Yes. But when you say challenging, what do you mean?
Like,
exactly?
If there's challenges with, I guess, with like, okay, trying to get more bookings, or, work, now that you're signed, still having to kind of fight for yourself. Have you gotten yourself a flow on how to get bookings and things like that? That's a more specific question. That's a better question. A better way to phrase that. Has it been or not? Have you gotten a flow?
I feel like I've gotten a flow, but also in the back of my mind, like, okay, whatever is for me is for me. Whatever I don't get wasn't intended for me, and I know something greater is coming. So yeah, I guess I feel like it is a flow for me, because I've become more, I don't take things personally anymore.
Okay. That's a good place to start.
I feel like that's huge. Yeah. Because then if you take things personally, then I feel like that ties into your mental health, because you're questioning yourself and your image, and it's like a ripple effect. So with me not taking things personally, it goes back to, okay, what's for me is for me. It's not for me. It's not for me. And even now I'm finding new ways of reaching out to different brands that I'm interested in working with, or if it's, okay, this is the type of style that they're going for with their brand. How and who can I shoot with to add this to my portfolio to show that I can execute this as well? It's really just, I feel like for me, the biggest thing is just having confidence in yourself. And I know people say that all the time, but I feel like if you're not confident in your ability and what you have to offer, then it's not that you'll get overlooked, but it's also like, okay, well, if you don't believe it for yourself, why would I want to invest in you as a brand?
Right. Yeah. It's kind of hard to convince somebody else of something that you're not convinced of yourself.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That makes a lot of
Hit it on the
sense. Last thing with the mental health portion. You just got married, right?
I did.
Congrats. By the time this episode airs, it probably would have been maybe maybe like 1 or 2 months now that you've been married. How is your husband, is he very supportive of your career? How's that dynamic in terms of, your career versus in being married? How's all that working?
Right. It's definitely different. I guess I'm still getting used to saying that I'm married.
Yeah. At this recording, it's been how long since you've been married?
It's been like 2 weeks.
2 weeks,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. It's been 2 weeks. So still getting used to that. But what I love about him, outside of all of the other reasons why I love him, he's super supportive. And in moments where, because I'm confident in myself, but of course I'm human. I still have days where I'm like, am I doing this? Am I doing enough of that? Like whatever. He's like, no, you're a dope model. You have tons to offer. Keep doing you. He was like, I feel like you don't realize how like great you are, like how talented you are. Like, yeah. So just that like rah. I don't want to call him a cheerleader, but a cheerleader.
Yeah, he's a cheerleader.
Yeah. And he's instrumental in even me raising my pricing on my site, because he's like, do you see your images? Like, what are you doing? Stop sleeping on yourself.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
I love that because it's the same thing with Moses and me, my husband. He's the same way. And you need that person. You need that person to like remind you of your worth and to let you know, like, now go raise some prices, or, help you, because it's hard as a person, especially if you're pricing something. It's very hard to feel like you're worthy of pricing at a certain amount.
Yeah.
And that's amazing that he's doing that. That's what you need. Everybody needs that.
I know. Or we'll be out and he's like, you need content. Go stand over there. I see a shot. And I'm like, okay. So he takes a lot of my like, not professional photos, but when I post and it's like just, I guess, lifestyle or me lounging around, he's taking my photo.
Wow. Those are, first of all, he has a great eye.
I was like, you need to do this. Like, go get a camera.
Maybe you should pick up a camera, bro.
I'm telling you,
he's really
like, let's get this angle, this lighting, so it's great, and it's appreciated.
You can tell he's clearly proud of you. He's like proud that you're his. That's clear.
Yeah. And he's so sweet and so selfless, and it's awesome to have a great support system in an industry that can tear you down.
Sure. And as with having a spouse, one thing no one ever told me, this is kind of a bit of a side note here, but something no one ever told me about marriage prior to was that you're not necessarily looking for, the person that you just really like a lot, that you like spend a lot of time with. I mean, you're looking for a life partner. Like, I know that sounds a little cliche, but like,
it's a real thing.
It's a real thing. Like, you need a buddy out here. Like, life is hard, like you need a buddy. And like, it's a lot. And in the industry that you're in, at home, that's where you refuel. You kind of go out and even if you're not an introvert, like you go out though, and you're giving so much of yourself working, you have to have somebody to refill you at home, like help you with that. You obviously want to do that on your own, but with prayer and everything else, but it's a huge blessing and privilege to have somebody there at home to help refill you. That's so neat.
I agree, because even with my current job now. So I'm a flight attendant for Delta Airlines.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like movies and TV make it seem like flight attendant lifestyle. It's glitz and glam and fabulous. Then you're here and you're there. But there are very real realities to that too.
Mm-hmm.
And just dealing with hundreds of people every single day can be mentally exhausting, physically exhausting, and emotionally, because I'm an empath. So I feel like I absorb people and their situations, or you know, so after, it's nice to come home and decompress and just like refuel. And it's nice to have him there to help me do that, instead of like adding to the exhaustion and just everything that goes along with work.
Yeah, especially like you said, like being a person who absorbs a lot of people's things, you have to have some release valve somewhere to
Somewhere.
right. You have to have that. So I want to talk about, as we're talking about pricing, let's talk about some of the things that you're starting to offer on your website. So I know that you are going to be hosting a masterclass soon. Is that right?
I am. It's on Sunday. I guess when this airs, it will have passed already.
Right.
However, I'm super excited about that, because even before, so my agency director, she asked me to host the class.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
Girl, yes.
I'm honored.
Yes.
Even for them to see that ability in me is very, like, I just feel super honored and like humbled by it, and appreciate that they appreciate, I guess, my talent.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's on Sunday. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
So yeah, so even before she asked me to do that, in my mind, I was like, oh, I really want to offer this, because I'm all about like building up other models, and in any way I can help, I want to do that, because I didn't have that for myself. And so fast forward, because this was maybe a few months ago, I was like, okay, let me put this together. And then I started to stress myself out with planning the wedding. So I was like, okay, let me not spread myself too thin. So I feel like the timing was perfect, because after the wedding, she's like, hey, would you do this? And I'm like, yes, I would. I'd love to.
That is so cool. So it's called Model Behavior 101, right?
Model Behavior 101.
Okay, so what are you going to be teaching in the masterclass?
I guess just different posing techniques, and I guess my thought process behind posing, because I feel like if you put too much thought into it, it reads on camera, as opposed to just kind of like, just go with it.
Flowing with it.
Yeah. And so sometimes on set, I find myself dancing, not so much posing. I love dance. I love just going to any type of sound. I can hear a commercial in the car for like 411 pain, and I'm dancing. That's me. I'll dance to anything. But even the realities of tying it back into confidence, I feel like I didn't progress with my posing until I stopped thinking, oh, well, what if this looks stupid? What if the photographer thinks I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing, just being in my own head.
In your head.
Yeah. So once I was like, who cares? Whatever. I'm going to throw my arms up. If I look stupid, whatever. If it comes out cool, sure, why not? I feel like that really has helped me grow as a model, more specifically with my posing.
Whenever, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, so I'm definitely going to relay that into Sunday and kind of gauge everyone's thoughts and sentiments behind posing. Because it should just kind of be like an afterthought. We have other things to focus on or worry about.
I love that you said that. I was going to ask you how, do you ever like sit in the mirror and practice posing? Like, what's your method of really perfecting your posing?
So my method of perfecting my posing. So I feel I'm stronger with beauty because that focuses usually like chest up, if not super close. So with that, it's more of showing off what are these, clavicles?
It's called the décolletage.
Décolletage.
That's right. You have to say it like that.
Yes. So I feel like with that, I feel like different niches of modeling require different types of posing.
Sure.
So with me, my focus this year was full body because prior to, I was mainly only doing beauty. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, I come here, I fold my shoulders, I create angles. I'm just doing subtle like movements, throw some hands in there, whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I totally forgot your question.
It's okay. You're answering it.
Okay, I'm answering.
I was asking what your method is of perfecting your posing.
My method. Okay. So when I'm getting ready in the morning, I'll just be in the mirror and I'll just maybe angle or do like certain looks, certain faces. Mm-hmm. As far as for full body, this might be awkward. So okay. I don't really practice those in a mirror, but if I'm out and about or out at a restaurant or whatever, I might sit a certain way. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, I think this would be a cool pose. So then I will go back home and I'll do it. And I'm like, yeah, I was right. So I might test that out in a shoot. Uh-huh. So really not, I guess, dedicating time to it itself in the mirror. It's more just like I'm going throughout my day, but I'm still working on my craft.
Yeah. Yeah, that's dope.
So,
it's like it's truly like a part of, it's a way of life at this point now. It's a part of just living and letting that, and I think that is what makes you kind of like really strong though, because it's very natural. You can tell like it's not posy, even though it's a super dope pose that you're making. It's not like, oh, you're posing. It's clear that it's something that's very fluid and natural for you. So that really makes sense. If it is something that you're doing, just you're almost training yourself to do it naturally in different ways and different environments, then from the restaurant to the set, it's not going to be too much different, because then you're just kind of being your normal self. Right. It makes a lot of sense.
Yes. And then it alleviates you thinking about posing.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I did this, but what do I do now? And I think a big misconception is I have to do like these elaborate poses each shot, when that's not the case, because a subtle like movement can change the whole outcome of an image. So it's weird, but just incorporating it into my everyday life.
That's dope, because I'm glad you do that, because it seems like such a thing to think hard about, and you can tell when someone's thinking too hard about it, and then when someone's just very comfortable and fluid. So that's awesome, and I think that's what makes you such a strong model. On the 26th, I know, so that's the Model Behavior 101. That's the 26th that's coming out.
Model Behavior 101, yes.
So are there any other services that you offer to aspiring models or anything like that?
So based on how the class goes on Sunday, or the session goes on Sunday, I do want to offer it as a service on my website. But through my website, it's like, okay, if you pay to have me, I wouldn't call it model coaching, posing, I don't know. If you pay for that service, I'm going to offer, I guess, my attendance at your next shoot, so that it's like, okay, like I'm here, like how can I support you?
Live coaching, basically.
Live coaching, yeah.
That's awesome.
But more so that it's comfortable, like I'm here for you.
Yeah, that's dope. That's a void to definitely fill. I think people maybe I think new models could really use somebody there, because I think once new models, they may have had some training and then they get on set to like a test shoot, and they're a little bit like, okay, what did I learn? Like,
right. What did I learn? Let me try to remember. And then it's the pressure of going back to, oh, what does this photographer think? Like, I want to impress them so that they want to work with me again, type thing. So I definitely want to offer that, and even to photographers that have clients, because I've spoken with photographers and they're like, oh man, like if this model just had their posing or whatever together, I feel like it would have really elevated the shoot.
Yeah.
So yeah, offering it to not only models but photographers, even outsourcing eventually to brands. And it's like, okay, you don't want to book me for your brand, but book me to pose the models.
That's right. You can do all kinds. Look, I offer whatever you need.
Right. Exactly. In any capacity, because even for me, even if I'm coaching, that's still me working on my craft also.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
And just being able to pay that forward. So I'm excited.
You should be. I noticed on your website too, which I've never seen a model do this, but I think it's pretty cool. The fact that you can have people book you for different types of shoots and like have them, because I feel like with most models, I've just never noticed a model do that. Like they've never like said, like, I can book me for your beauty shoot. You have a beauty brand. Are you a makeup artist who wants to,
just create a look.
Yeah. I thought that was just so brilliant. Is it similar with just hearing from photographers what they need from models? Was it kind of similar thing for makeup artists with that service?
So I feel like that kind of sprung about because I was working with different makeup artists, and they were like, hey, like, are you free to just create a look? So I'm like, oh, like, this is a real thing. Like and I feel like everybody's method is different. Some people like to test things out on a face. Some people like sketching things, but I'm like, yeah, if you want to bring this look that you created to life, call me.
Let me know, girl. I got you.
Let me know.
Go to my website.
Yeah.
That's so dope. Yeah, I've never seen models it could be some that are doing it. I've just never seen it up to this point. And I thought that was just super brilliant to take it beyond modeling, doing modeling in general, of course, is great, but the fact that you're finding ways to like level it here and I'm gonna level up one more. And then you're really creating a business out of it. And that's brilliant. The fact that you're taking it, to an enterprise level is admirable for sure.
Thank you. Yeah. And anytime, whether it's my idea or Jarvis's idea, Jarvis is my husband's name. It's like, oh, like it'd be cool if you offered this. So I feel like it'll continue to grow as I'm like, okay, what's realistic without spreading myself too thin, because the main focus for me is still modeling for myself. But I definitely just want to help others and see others succeed because it's awesome.
Yeah. I'm proud of you. I'm so proud.
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask you like two more things here and then we'll get into our lightning round. One, what's something that you would tell an aspiring model, like just at the walk to you right now, and just like, how do I get my start? What would you tell them now?
How do you get your start? I say would be putting yourself out there, but not being afraid to put yourself out there, because it is a lot of you reaching out. Like if you're just starting out, nobody's really gonna reach out to you if they don't know who you are, know what you do. So definitely reaching out to different photographers. There are tons of even new photographers that are looking to collab also. So humbling yourself and working with, like, not being, what's the word? I feel like you can't be super picky starting out. Just because you're still learning, you're trying to grow, and so learn and grow together. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Are you speaking in terms of doing test shoots, things like that, or?
Test shoots, collaborative shoots, and even with that, you kind of learn what type of modeling you want to get into. So it's a learning process, I feel, for everybody. But yeah, but also, oh my goodness, coming correct.
Break that down.
Because it is, and I had a conversation with a friend yesterday. He's a photographer, awesome photographer.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how you approach models or photographers or whatever, but being professional about it.
Sure. Absolutely.
because, and it sets the tone for you as a person and your level of professionalism.
Mhm.
So say I reach out to a photographer and I'm like, hey, I like your work. I want to let's shoot. Okay. For some it works. But for me, it's like, hi, my name is Kayla. I'm starting in this industry. I'm really admiring your work. If you do collaborative shoots at all, like I'd love to be considered the next time you have that in place.
That is perfect because
Simple.
I think it's so simple and so perfect because you have to, I try to encourage people to do this, but don't reach out like just because it's a collaborative shoot and something that's kind of fun and maybe amongst others who are not at a certain professional level doesn't mean that you don't reach out like it's a professional thing, like because it absolutely is. You know, I think some people, they think because it's collaborative, they're like, oh, let me just like hit you up real quick, kind of vibe.
Right, and that's not the case. And people remember that, so it's like, okay, well, going forward, I work with two models. More was more professional. The other, not so much. So if someone asks me if I know any models, I'm going to refer this person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if the person that you're collaborating with is serious about their craft, you know, they're only going to want to work with people who are serious about theirs. And,
right,
you know, speaking in that with that type of terminology and approaching that person with that type of terminology shows that you're serious about yourself. And especially when you're super new, and this is, I think, with anything that you're doing, but I can imagine with modeling, like, you know, the thing that you're doing, you're super new, and you don't have a whole lot of work to speak on your behalf. The best you can do is speak properly on your behalf, like speak, you know, professionally on your behalf, your own behalf. That goes a long way, Kayla.
It does, but nobody thinks of that, especially in a world with social media and like everybody's a model now. So it's like, no, I am serious about this. Like, I'm not just reaching out to you
right
for this. Like, I do genuinely trying to build.
Yes, like I actually do this. This is my real job.
Right. So yeah, and it sets you apart because a lot of people don't think that way.
Sure. Anything
the same way you have to be professional in a corporate setting, you need to be professional in every aspect of your life, whether you're an entrepreneur, like whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Because that says a lot about you as a person.
Absolutely. I lied. I have 3 more questions. Well, technically totally 3. 2 more now this time. I wanted to touch on really quickly your balance between, or harmony you may find. I hate saying balance, but maybe the harmony you find between, well, actually the better word would be prioritizing. There it is. Prioritizing between, you know, modeling and your actual just day-to-day life, and then working as a flight attendant, you know, that you still is that full-time or is it part-time, or how do you manage all of that?
So it is a full-time position.
Mm-hmm.
However, it does offer a good amount of flexibility. So usually I fly weekends, which gives me my weeks to schedule shoots, book shoots. It's like, oh, what's your availability during the week?
Gotcha. And that's great because most shoots are in the week.
Yeah. But as far as, okay, if I flew a 3-day trip on the weekend, which happened to be more draining than whatever, then I do give myself a day to like refuel and like reprocess. I feel like rest is super important. Contrary to popular belief, I guess, with no, sleep when you're dead. It's like, okay, well, I still have to take care of myself.
Yeah, I'm not gonna work to myself to
death, my though. Body.
Yeah.
Right. But as far as prioritizing, I'm in a space now where I am tired of working for somebody else or giving them energy that I can be putting towards my passion. Sure. So now I'm always prioritizing my shoots over work because prayerfully I won't be with Delta too much longer. Mm-hmm. I really want to be modeling full time. That's what I'm manifesting and praying about.
There you go. Boom. Now, you're clearly on the path. You're clearly on the path. And all that bravery, can you tell us about your book, Hello Flower?
Yes, I brought a copy.
It's beautiful. I love it so much.
Thank you. I'll send you one too. So my book I'm relaunching it. So yes, within the next couple of weeks, I'll have set a hard like relaunch date. But I actually launched it in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
The idea stemmed from me. It's called Hello Flower. So each page is like a small entry that starts with Hello Flower, almost like a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And it started as a journal entry to myself. I've always loved to write and like journal and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it would help me get through moments of where I felt like I couldn't overcome, just to have like positive messages like, oh, okay, let me read this and like smile or whatever, just feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, if I feel this way, I'm sure other people do too. So let me pay this forward and just turn it into a book.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like my little baby.
I love it. It's a precious little baby too. It's wonderful.
Yes. And it is available on my website and on barnesandnoble.com and target.com. And I want to say Amazon too.
Girl, I know that part. That's awesome.
Yes. So I just like creating things.
And honey, like you're killing it. You're doing it. You are doing it. No
Thank
matter
you.
what kind of hold-ups or challenges you ever faced in this process. Clearly, it's only just fueled you to go further. So keep it up.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now we're just going to jump into our lightning round. There are style well, live well, be brave. So for style well, tell us one thing in your closet that you just absolutely cannot live without.
I can't live without my bandos. And I know that sounds very cheesy, but for the sake of like shooting beauty and stuff, it's usually either bandeau or like a strapless bra. Mm-hmm. So bandeaus on deck.
I had a feeling it was going to have something to do with what you carry to set. And so I'm glad you answered with that. It's not cheesy at all.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Essential item. It's
an essential item. Right. Exactly. And for live well, what's something that you practice, a ritual or routine or regimen that keeps you feeling well?
Keeps me feeling well. I'm actually doing better with exercising. But as far as something that kind of like calms me, I love to color.
Oh.
Yeah, I always have a coloring book and some coloring pencils, and I'm just like,
it's a nice like mindless thing to do. Just
a nice mindless thing. It's out pretty.
And you get to use some colors and like
get to use colors.
I love adult coloring books. Or even the ones. They're the best.
They are.
They're so good.
Okay. Right.
It's okay to color when you're not a kid.
I think people
need to color, like take themselves less seriously and color.
And I'm like, hey, I'm proud. And my color pencils, I'm good to go.
And then lastly, for be brave, what is something that you've done past, present, or future that is requiring you to use a little extra faith or just do afraid or be really brave about?
That's me in my current situation, being brave, or I guess working on being brave enough to just walk away from my full-time job altogether and just dedicate 100% to my passion.
Sure.
Yeah, but I feel like it's torn between like still be responsible, like you still have bills are very real.
Yeah.
And just pursuing my passion. And you hear people say all the time, well, if you have a backup plan and you never believed in yourself to begin with, and I'm like, I believe in myself, but I'm like, I'm also a responsible person.
Right.
So it's
I'm so glad you made I'm so glad you made that differentiation, because that's something that I've struggled with too. And I think a lot of people as creatives, especially when you kind of get past a certain phase of life, if you're not living with a parent or, you're maintaining like as an adult, so you're adulting.
Right.
It's hard to like figure out when am I supposed to take this leap from, because the bills don't take the break with me. So
they do not.
So what's the plan here? but that does require a lot of bravery and planning, and just, but you have to, it's nothing wrong with being responsible while you pursue your craft.
Right.
The fact that I admire the fact that you work full time and you still figure out how to have your modeling career. That's amazing. That's amazing. Because some people, they make an excuse as to why they can't pursue the thing, or they're just irresponsible. Like there's like two spectrums there.
Right.
So the fact that you found your middle ground to that
Mm-hmm.
great. And I think somebody probably needed to hear that. Don't feel bad that you maybe have a full-time job and you're pursuing something that,
right.
or that you have a quote unquote plan B.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely be pursuing that particular thing hardcore, but maintain your bills at the same time. Like you don't have to be a starving artist. You don't have to be.
Right. I don't want to choose to starve. Like that's not a
plan. That's not like that.
Choice. And I'm all for sacrifice, but we have to be realistic about these sacrifices.
That's a different type of sacrifice. That's
right.
That's not it.
Right.
Well, Kayla, it was a pleasure speaking with you today.
To you, Jessica. Thank you.
Oh, you are more than welcome. You are more than welcome. Can you tell everyone where they can find you? You've already told us where you can find the book, so we can find that on Target, Barnes and Noble, and on your website, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hello Flower. So definitely everybody. And how much is the book? How can everyone cop that?
The book is $15. The book is $15, and it is available. You can purchase it through my website, and I'll ship it to you. And if you order through any of the other platforms that I mentioned, they have their processes in place.
Nice.
I'll get it to you. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So yes, definitely get your copy of Hello Flower, and then tell us where we can find you on social media and the actual address of your website.
Okay. So on social media, I go by Wylde Flower. That's WYLDE_flower, which is the same on TikTok also. I'm not really on Twitter. I guess I should be more on Twitter. And Facebook is like, oh, hey, members. But I'll do better. On Facebook, it's Kayla Arianne. And my website is KaylaArianne.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Miss Kayla Arianne.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
You're more than welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.